Welcome to 2023, everyone. And yet, sadly, and not although surprisingly, we still have students calling us who took their test in 2021 or 2019, or in one case 2012, didn't pass it for different reasons, just never went back and took it. Well, it doesn't get any easier. The longer you're out of school, the more you forget. The test is not easy. If it were easy, the failure rate wouldn't be 50%. Every day, almost half the students that take the test will fail, and the state doesn't care. They are very happy to keep taking your money. Again, in some states $45, in some states almost $200. They don't care. They'll just keep taking it and taking it and taking it until you do something about it. Now, you paid thousands of dollars, you spent a year, maybe two in school or the apprentice program, but you still don't have a license. Barbers are constantly calling us in shock that there were a lot of Cosmo questions on the test. Of course there are a lot of Cosmo questions on the test. Cosmos call us shocked there are barbering questions, or what they perceive to be barbering questions on the test. But you need to understand, here's the barbering textbook. Current Milady book. Here's the current Milady cosmetology book. The only difference between these two books and the only difference between the two exams, cosmetology and barber, is the barbers will be tested on shaving questions. The Cosmos will not. The Cosmos will have nail questions. The barbers will not. Otherwise, the tests are the same. I ran a school for close to 30 years. I had barbers and cosmetologists. I'm telling you, the tests are the same except for nails and shaving. Every other subject is the same. They will test you heavily on infection control. Chapter 4 for barbers, Chapter 5 for cosmetologists. They're identical. In those chapters, they will ask you about a thing called AHP. Do you know what AHP is? It stands for accelerated hydrogen peroxide. And if you don't know what it does, you will get that question wrong on your test. There will be several questions, maybe 3, maybe 5, on proper disinfection procedures. Not what you think is the proper procedure, and certainly not what we all do in our daily career, but what the state says is the proper disinfection procedure. And it's very, very carefully laid out in several steps in both of these textbooks. And the test questions come word for word from these textbooks. The proper steps from beginning to end in infection control. If you don't know these things, you cannot pass your test. 1/3 of your test is infection control. Depending upon how many questions on your test, most states have about 100. That means you have roughly 30 to 35 questions. You cannot pass the test if you miss 35 questions on infection control. They will ask you about permanent waving. Again, barbers will say, I'm not going to do this. Okay, fine. Okay? That's up to you, but it is on your test. They will ask you, do you know how to apply the neutralizer? Does it go from left to right or right to left? Now, in the grand scheme of things, it makes no difference, but it makes a very big difference on your test if you plan on passing. And it would be a shame to fail by 1 point because you don't know which direction, left to right or right to left, that they think is important. There will be a lot of what you might call cosmetology questions on your test. Look at your book. Chapter 16 is entitled Women's Hair Cutting and Hair Styling. This involves blow dryers, curling irons. How do you test the heat of a curling iron? It involves hair pressing for African American hair. Soft press, medium press, hard press, and double press. You might think of this as cosmetology questions. The barber exam thinks of them as barber questions. Chapter 17 will talk about permanent waving, chemical relaxing. Chapter 18, hair color, highlights, bleaching, tint backs, all kind of things that you probably don't think are barber material, and yet, surprisingly, look at Chapter 18 in your textbook. It's right there, hair coloring. It is half your exam, what you will call cosmetology questions, roughly half your exam. You cannot pass the exam if you miss half your exam. The other half is infection control and shaving. Now, I am personally surprised at the range of shaving questions, from California with 20 to Florida with 3. You could miss all 3 questions in Florida and still pass your test. You can't miss all 20 in California and still pass your test. And it doesn't matter how well you know how to shave someone. They want to know, do you know where the towel is placed? Is it placed on their chest, on their neck, on their right shoulder, on their left shoulder? They want to know where the paper towel is placed. Again, chest, neck, right shoulder, left shoulder. Where do you stand to do certain things? When do you stand in front of the client? When do you stand aside of the client? When do you stand in back of the client? You know, most barbers will do this naturally, but when they're sitting in front of a computer screen, you can't demonstrate how to do it. You have to know it's A, B, C, or D. And people don't know. That's why last week we had barber students calling us. One got 7 questions, one got 9 questions, one got 13. That's disgraceful on the part of your school and your teacher when you missed 13 out of 20 shaving questions. I mean, for sure, everyone realizes shaving is a barber skill. That's not even debatable as a cosmetology question. Shaving is a barber question. People should get a 19 and 20 out of that, not 7 or 12. Okay, so you finished school, you spent a year or 2 of your life, you spent $10,000, $15,000, you know how to do hair, you don't know how to pass your test. You have a couple of choices. You can read this book very, very much in detail. It's 1,100 pages, it's a great book. You probably don't have time and you won't know what's important. You can buy our book. It's $50. It gives you about 1,000 questions and answers that came out of the Milady textbook and jumped out of the Milady textbook right onto your state board exam without passing go, without collecting $200 from this book to this book. Or you can call us. You can take advantage of our online training. You will have private one-on-one training with you and a licensed barber who will review with you every section of your test. If you failed your test and you have your failure notice, we'll ask you to send us a picture of it through your phone. We can narrow down the topics you really performed poorly in. I will tell you from 25, 30 years experience, those topics are infection control, chemical services, permanent waves, chemical hair relaxing, hair color. These are the things barbers don't care about, things they don't know about, and they are the things that cause you to fail your test over and over and over. Give us a call. Our licensed barber will walk you right through it. Our program is fast, it's affordable, and most importantly, it actually works. 30 days and you will have your license. Now, those of you who've been trying for a year, 2 years, 5 years and more, 30 days and you will have your license. Stop doing what you've been doing because it doesn't work. Call us because our program does work. Okay? Give us a call. 760-534-4434. Thank you so much for your time.